Hey guys, as part of my year of rereading, I'm going to be talking about The White Russian by Tom Bradby. The White Russian by Tom Bradby is set in the dying days of Imperial Russia in 1917. Chief Police Investigator Sandra Ruski returns to St. Petersburg after spending 3 years in exile in Siberia. His first assignment involves the bodies of 2 people on the river Neva, found just outside the Tsar's winter palace. Ruski's determination to uncover a ruthless killer leads him down a path of conspiracy and betrayal and a fight against the demons of his past. Yeah guys, this is the final book as part of my year of rereading for 2021. I made it through this entire year. My plan for this entire year was to reread at least one book every month, and I managed to do it. I'm very happy and pleased with that goal. And yeah, The White Russian was what I planned for December. So yeah, this is going to be it for my year of rereading for 2021, guys. I would love to do this project again sometime in the future because it's been just so much fun rereading and re-experiencing some of my favorite books, you know, especially since I've started this booktube channel, and I rarely ever get to reread favorite books. So yeah, it was a great assignment for me this year, and I absolutely loved it. So yeah, let's talk about The White Russian by Tom Bradby. Yeah, guys, Jesus, I love this book. This is a book that I have reread a lot. Let me put it that way. When was this book first published? Let me look at my notes here. It was published way back in 2003, and I want to say I purchased this book either in 2003, 2004, something like that, and I reread this book on a yearly basis, let me put it that way. So I've probably read it a good 6 or 7 times, I'm thinking. But alas, as I always mention, I started booktube and rereading just kind of floated out of existence for whatever reason. So yeah, this book, you guys, I freaking love it. It's definitely one of my top favorites. Yeah, it's not like a book that's absolutely mind-blowing. It's not going to change your mind about anything, you know. It's just the type of book that I personally just enjoy. I find engaging and entertaining. And yeah, it's set in Imperial Russia, the dying days of Imperial Russia, and I'm a sucker for that sort of thing. So let's start off with the atmosphere of this book. This is definitely a book that I would consider highly atmospheric. There's the fact that you're in Russia. It's January. It's cold. There's a lot of ice. There's a lot of snow. It's just hugely atmospheric in that regards. Whenever I read this book, I find myself freezing half to death. And I always got to make sure I'm bundled up. It's definitely the type of book that makes you feel cold while you're reading it, and you're sitting there thinking, man, I would really love a cup of hot chocolate right now. So not only does Tom Bradby get the physical atmosphere of the book correct, I think he also gets the political atmosphere of this book correct as well. I think he definitely did his research. Just the nature of this book, because it's a very political book. It's definitely like a political thriller, I would say. And especially it being set during Imperial Russia, the dying days of Imperial Russia. I think it's very, very important to know the facts during this time period and doing that research, and I definitely think Tom Bradby did that research. He captured that political atmosphere of this time period, kind of just this whole feeling of doom and gloom and conspiracy and betrayal and just suspicion, just left and right, all around, you know, twists and turns and corners and whatnot. I really felt like he captured that. So yeah, this book is set on January 1st. I love just the opening of this book because the new year has literally just started as this book opens up. It's January 1st of 1917. You're right there in St. Petersburg on the river. Is it the river Neva or the River Neva? Yeah, guys, someone who's Russian, let me know. I think it's the River Neva. And yeah, our main character, his name is Alexander or Sandra Ruski. He is a chief police investigator. He has actually just spent the previous 3 years in exile in Siberia. Over the course of the novel, or rather actually very, very early in the book, you kind of figure out why exactly he was sent into exile and whatnot. So yeah, that's where you're at the start of this book. So literally just a few months, not too terribly long after the events of this book, Tsar Nicholas II, who would be the ruler of Russia at this time, he does abdicate the throne. And then not too long after that, like the summer of 1918, his whole family, well, not his whole family, his wife, his son, his 4 daughters, some of their very loyal household servants, they're all brutally executed, murdered, if you will. So with that in the back of your mind, as you're reading this book, it definitely further lends to the atmosphere and vibe and mood and tone that you're experiencing literally from the start of this book. Because if you do know your history in regards to Tsar Nicholas II and his family, you know what's to come. You, the reader, are very much aware of what's to come. You know what's to come. You're multiple steps ahead of Ruski, pretty much. You know, you're multiple steps ahead of Ruski. You know what's coming. And it's like no matter what Ruski is trying to do throughout this entire novel, no matter how much he's trying to help, how much he's trying to learn, it's all rather in vain at the end of the day. Because it is, you know, this is kind of the final months, you know, this is the final months of the glory days of Imperial Russia, in a sense. And I definitely feel like this is a book that is incredibly palpable, if you will. It's incredibly palpable. You can really feel the unease and the tension on every single page, and I really felt like Tom Bradby did such a fantastic job with that. Because in turn, you can, while you're reading, you can feel that this world is slowly collapsing and decaying right under the feet of these characters. So talking about the characters really quickly, because I've already mentioned our main character, Sandra Ruski, chief police investigator. He spent the previous 3 years in exile in Siberia. You find out why eventually, pretty early on in the book. Ruski as a character, I absolutely love him as a character. He's a man who has become very hardened with life, essentially. He was born in the upper class. A lot of characters kind of make fun of him, you know, for his upper class privilege and whatnot, and a lot of times refer to him as like, oh, Prince Ruski, you know. He was very spoiled and pampered and privileged at some point, but and yeah, his father, who he's actually very, very estranged with, his father wanted a completely different path for Ruski. Ruski didn't want the path that his father chose for him, so yeah, that's why he goes and becomes a police investigator. And yeah, he is a character, a man who really wants to do the right thing. He is honor bound. He is bound by loyalty and duty. Yeah, he could be pretty rough and tough with like criminals, you know, the bad guys, you know, like he's willing to get down and dirty to get the answers that he wants. You know, he knows to the people he needs to talk to connect to get answers and whatnot. And yeah, especially with these bodies that are found on the frozen river right there, right outside the Tsar's Winter Palace. Yeah, Ruski is incredibly determined to find this ruthless killer, and bring him to justice, and, you know, find out what's going on and whatnot. And as I just mentioned, Ruski has a very incredibly estranged relationship with his father, a lot of which comes from the fact that years and years ago, when he was a little boy, his youngest brother, there was an accident, he died. Ruski has spent his entire childhood, his teenage years, and now into his adulthood, he has spent his entire life feeling incredibly guilty and responsible for what happened to his little brother, and yeah, feels that this is the strain that is caused between him and his father and whatnot. Let's just put it this way. Ruski has a pretty estranged relationship with most characters in this book, to be quite honest. Because even his wife, he has a very estranged relationship with his wife, who went into exile with him, but yet that was not the life for her at all. He does have a son that his wife is kind of pretty much forbidden him to see. He does have a pretty good relationship with which it would be his middle brother. You know, had his youngest brother not had an accident, this would be his middle brother. He has a pretty good relationship with his middle brother, Dmitri. But yeah, Dmitri is kind of hiding some secrets and demons as well. Ruski also has a relationship with a ballerina named Maria. Prior to going into exile, Ruski and Maria had a really strong relationship, but now that he's back from exile, there kind of seems to be a bit of an estrangement there between Ruski and Maria for some unknown reason that he's kind of determined to figure out over the course of the book. I also really love the character of Pavel, who is Ruski's deputy as he's investigating the crimes that are popping up around St. Petersburg and whatnot. He and Pavel have such a great bond, brothers in arms, essentially. And yeah, Pavel, he kind of feels this responsibility too, like, hey, I should have went into exile with you, or rather, I should have been the one who was exiled, not you. So yeah, there's a lot of tension there, you know, with Ruski coming back from exile and now his relationship with Pavel and whatnot. And then the main antagonists of this novel would be the Akarana. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. The Akarana, who are the Tsar's secret police, essentially. And for whatever reason, the Akarana are really determined to foil what Ruski and his team are doing in regards to these murders and whatnot. They keep butting in the way and getting up to their own mischief and whatnot. And yeah, Ruski and his team are trying to figure out these murders, find the culprit, you know, find all the clues. But here comes the Agrana. Like I said, they have their own specific reason and agendas for kind of what they're doing. And yeah, they have a really nefarious leader of that group and whatnot. Yeah, the Akarana are great antagonists in this book because you have Ruski and his team who are the good guys, and here's the Akarana who are the bad guys. So it's a nice little dynamic and balance there. And in general, I really feel like this book has such a rich cast of characters. I really love all the characters, the good and the bad. They're all just so richly drawn out and fleshed out in their own ways. They feel like they're part of this world, you know what I mean? They feel immersed into this world. They feel like real flesh and blood people. You can visualize them. And add on top of that, because like I said, this is such a hugely atmospheric book, and yeah, these characters kind of fit right into that as well, because you can feel what these characters are feeling, because they're part of this slowly crumbling, decaying world that is collapsing around them. They're all powerless to stop it, essentially. And even though I do consider these characters all to be really richly fleshed out and whatnot, I definitely wouldn't consider that this is probably like a heavy character book. You know, I do think the book is more about the plot and what's going on. Like I said, because you have Ruski and his team trying to figure out who this killer is with these two bodies on the River Neva. Plus you have the Agrana who are off to the side trying to kind of detour all of this going on. So yeah, this book is mostly more about kind of the big murder mystery, this whole political thriller element. What is the Akarana's agenda? What's the agenda of just every damn character going on in this book? You know, just left and right, every group is kind of up to something, and there is a lot of political maneuvering and plotting going on behind the scenes that Ruski is trying to figure out slowly over the course of the book. And yeah, as you get deeper and deeper into this book, yeah, the politics definitely start building up, intensifying, and you do start kind of making those connections, you know, yeah, how is this all kind of eventually tying into the fall of the monarchy eventually. So yeah, overall, a favorite book of mine. As I mentioned at the top of this video, it's not like a wild and crazy, amazing, super duper amazing read, you know. It's just the type of book I personally enjoy reading. I love the characters. I love the world building. I love the atmosphere. I really get the feeling that Tom Bradby, he did his research. I think he did his job. He really makes you feel part of this world. You know, you, the reader, feel part of this world, but also the characters feel part of this world. And I consider this book to just be a really fantastic mystery political thriller. It's kind of just this nice combination of all those things put together. So yeah, I definitely recommend this book if you love all things Imperial Russia, especially relating to kind of the dying days of Imperial Russia, if you will. Yeah, this book is going to make you feel some things. You're going to feel cold. You're going to maybe feel a little sad because you know kind of the doom and gloom that's coming. But yeah, I definitely recommend this for anyone who loves all things Russian literature and whatnot. So you guys, that is it for my thoughts and my feelings on The White Russian by Tom Bradby. In the comments below, have you guys read this book? Do you plan on reading it? And if you have read it, please let me know if you've read this book, because this is a book that I feel like no one in the world has read but me, because even on Goodreads, there's only a couple reviews on there. So that's it for this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you like this video, you may like these other videos. Bye, guys.